Hey guys, so you ready for it? Today's July 2nd, 2024, 3:33 p.m. Central Time. I found stuff out today and I am so sharing, and it has to do with both of these things. But before I get into it, I watched the press briefing today because I wanted to see, all the questions the reporters were going to say. It was the first press briefing after the debate. And the questions were funny, but someone finally asked the question that needed to be asked. Don't know the outlet, but you hear it first here if you did not watch the press briefing. He asked, does the president have dementia or any other type of disability or disease or degradation of mental function? Bitch said no. And then he went on to say, has he been tested for it? And she glossed over it. So, it is official. The White House's stance says he has no mental health issue. We'll see how that comes out because they're always lying about stuff. Beside the point, here's the two topics, okay? Trump's New York case must be thrown out. And I found that out today because I was like, what? SCOTUS, when they ruled on the immunity, it affected the New York case. I did not know that. I knew it affected Jack Smith's case and all that bullshit, blah, blah, blah. But there's something that happened during the New York case that must throw it out. And I'm going to tell you what. And prep to replace Biden is happening tomorrow. Here's the deal. I'm going to go over the Biden part first because that is very exciting to me. There's no way I'm wrong on this. My last video explained how Biden would be replaced if it was after the DNC roll call and he was considered the nominee, and also if they had to replace him once the ballots were printed, right? That was my last video. I am convinced, and this gathering happening tomorrow has reinforced my convincingness of myself, that they will replace Biden after the DNC roll call. This is why. I will remind everybody this DNC rule because you'll need to know. Excuse me. It says, DNC rule gives broad power to the committee to replace a candidate in the result of death, resignation, disability. Okay? In the event death, here's quoting their stuff. In the event of a death, resignation, or disability of a nominee of a party for president or vice president, after the adjournment of the National Convention, meaning they already voted for this dude, the national chairperson of the Democrat National Committee shall confer with two groups. One, Democrat leadership of the United States Congress, and two, this is the important one, the Democrat Governors Association. And then they shall report to the Democrat National Committee, which is authorized to fill the vacancy or vacancies. Here's the deal. The Democrat Governors Association apparently is getting together tomorrow. Dun, dun, dun. For reasons, obviously, they're not going to say, we're trying to prep to replace Biden, but here's the deal. They're saying budgetary and storms and some other bullshit that they're claiming. But let me remind you, first of all, the debate was last week. Okay, so that's pretty coincidental. And bigger number two, it is July 2nd. Budgetary decisions, are they that immediate in the middle of the year? Because, the budget doesn't even end for the federal government till the end of September. So budgetary, if they use that as their main excuse, is really pathetic. So beside the point, they can use whatever excuse they want. It is too coincidental. They are getting together this quickly after this debate. Because if they got together, say sooner, closer to the convention, I could see that being questioned highly. But since it doesn't seem to be well known how they can replace Biden after the convention's already been done, I don't know anyone who seems to know that information, online or otherwise. At that point, people could know that information and it may look sketchy. So I think that they are getting together tomorrow and perhaps days further to create a solid list, a short solid list of replacements for Biden. I truly believe it. It would be wise they do so now anyway, because if that's what they're going to do is replace Biden after roll call at the DNC convention, they're not going to want to go in with a blank slate. They're going to want to go in with something in their hand already. So that was interesting to hear about. If you have a chance, watch the press briefing from today. It was so amusing. Like, the questions from the reporters were actually like interesting, legitimate. Some of them were extremely well thought out as far as like not hazy and stuff. And listening to her talk, obviously she's gonna back him and stuff, but like, take the 45 minutes or whatever out of your time, throw it in the background, listen to it. It's very interesting for those purposes. Now here's the deal. Trump's New York case must be thrown out. Here's why. I did not follow the New York case very closely at all. I just know that the judge is corrupt. His daughter works for the DNC, fundraising and all kinds of stuff. He always goes against Trump. He's always, he gagged Trump to death. Any motion that happened during the case, was always against Trump, blah, 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 all this shit. So he's an anti-Trumper. It's obvious. And when certain things should have been thrown out during the trial, he allowed them to be. And then when Trump's lawyers wanted some professional person, I can't remember who or why, to testify on behalf of the defense, he actually said no, they can't. So it was weird. That whole case was fucking weird. And it was a novel case anyway, attaching a financial bookkeeping crap that had already run out of statute of limitations to some felony that the feds already looked into and shit. That was nuts. So that case is a joke anyway. I think it'll be ultimately thrown out, or I should say overturned once on appeal. But here's the deal. Today, that judge paused sentencing for Trump because until September, okay? Which says to me that this probably is why. I think he'll have a hard time ignoring this one. Trump's lawyers need to, and as far as I know, they are going to go to this judge again because they've already, submitted this needs to be thrown out for this and this and this. That when SCOTUS ruled the other day on immunity, I won the bet with my mom, by the way, so I get to get PF Chang's. I'm so excited. She has to take James and I out to PF Chang's because I won. I said it would be limited immunity. It would not be blanket. Every official act would be immunity too, but other outside stuff, like say a rally or something, wouldn't necessarily be covered. And I was right. That's what they came up with. Now, obviously, the Supreme Court didn't come up with, well, these are the unofficial acts, and that would have taken an eternity for them to do because there's so many options. So they referred back to the lower courts regarding those types of situations. So if this Jack Smith case comes forward with the January 6th stuff and they just stick specifically with his rally where he told people to go to the Capitol, blah, 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 which everybody knows that whole thing was debunked. He said peacefully, blah, blah, blah. But if he tries to use that, Trump's lawyers are going to bring that to the Supreme Court and say that was official capacity. That's when they'll rule on those types of things. So the Supreme Court will be thrilled when that type of stuff starts coming to their table on whether something's official or unofficial. But certain stuff is obviously official. Here's the deal. The other thing that came out of SCOTUS under the immunity is it covered not just the president. It covered all White House staff that works for the president, period, under official capacity too. So that means everyone he worked with in that office as a president while he was sitting in the Oval Office is covered with immunity. And in that case, it would absolutely be, if someone asked about it, Trump or any president could say that information is shit, the word's leaving me. Confident. Whatever the terminology is where it's a confidential conversation between a president. I can't remember the name of it. It's there. You guys know it. So that person, when the president were to invoke that, or even the person they're asking the information from invokes that person can't talk. And that immunity case sealed the deal on that situation, which really seals the deal on tossing the Georgia case out too. But here's the deal. During the New York case, Trump signed the check regarding Stormy Daniels' BS in the Oval Office. Okay? So that makes a big deal because he was, according to Hope Hicks, signing several checks at that time and signing several documents. Excuse me, I don't think she said checks. Several documents at that time. So trying to say that he did it on his unofficial capacity, so it's like he signed a piece of legislation, official capacity, less than a second later he signs a check for Stormy Daniels, that's unofficial, and then he goes over and signs an executive order, that's official. Yeah, that would be adorable. So technically he did sign that check while he was in the Oval Office, blah blah blah. But the biggest thing, and this is why it should be thrown out, not necessarily when Trump signed the check, but that would be an argument of mine. Hope Hicks was brought in by the prosecution to testify against Trump, saying that he was a multitasker and a few other things that they brought her in for. That is malfeasance. That can't not happen. That could have and probably did affect the jury on how they viewed Trump and what he does and how he acts and all kinds of stuff by her testimony alone, regardless of what she said. She could have gone up there and said Trump takes a shit every morning at 7 a.m. like Sheldon Cooper on Big Bang Theory. Still would cause the case to be thrown out. Hope Hicks testifying in the New York case, automatically this should be thrown out. The judge, by moving the sentencing to September, I think he has in the back of his head, Trump's lawyers are going to come at me again. This one's going to be difficult to not address. I don't think he's going to throw the case out. I really don't. He's just crazy. Like, that judge needs to be removed in general. He's an activist judge. But he needs to be tossed anyway. I mean, that judge is so corrupt in so many ways. Even if a Democrat went before him and stuff happened, he's against every legal law theory ever. I mean, interpretation and everything. That judge is crazy. So will it be thrown out? Questionable. But I think he will have a very difficult time. One, not addressing it at a minimum, and two, not throwing out that New York case just because the prosecution brought in Hope Hicks. Anyway, this is Are You Ready For It? Take care, guys. Have a great day.